Hi, everyone. This is an exploration video to help support the Before We Start section of our Unit 3. It says, let's face it, media is all around us. This unit is designed to think about the role of media in today's world and to also be critical of the information we expose ourselves to daily. So, before we get into our unit next week, there are three activities I'd like for you to engage in. The first activity here, indicated by number one, is watch the video of Denzel Washington and the news today. Denzel Washington was printed in a news report that he had died. And obviously, that was fake news because he's here giving this interview. One of the things I want you to focus in on for number one is what he says about that claim and about journalism in and of itself. And the question I want you to really think about is right here. Do you agree or disagree with Denzel Washington, and why not? After think about your answer, turn to a peer next to you and discuss. So one of the things that you want to do is just kind of talk about those ideas, and remember too that just like your one simple question that you did with your challenge, um, going and asking a person a question or sharing your answer to a question just means that we're listening to different perspectives. It doesn't mean that we're judging someone for their answer or we think little of their answer at this point. We're just turning to someone to kind of talk about our ideas around what Denzel Washington's saying in this piece. Once you're finished with that discussion, move forward to number two. There is a link here that takes you to a Google Doc. And on this Google Doc, it allows you to have a breakdown of what this activity is going to do. I'm going to encourage you to read this particular section up here because it really talks about why we're doing this. Equally, it allows you to see the materials that you're going to need for this assignment. In this short introduction activity before actually doing the activity itself, there is a TED Talk that I'd like for you to kind of think about and watch and understanding decoding messages and images, the things that we see behind marketing and the making of the messages that we absorb every day in different media spaces. Once you're finished with engaging in that TED Talk, after checking that out, I want you to kind of identify what's in green, and the green kind of matches here on purpose. Take time to list all of the media that you interact with regularly. So if you really think about what it means for media, and we can do a Google search on that, media is anything that provides information and communication, to say the least. So from that list, explore that kind of imagery that you see. What are the images that you see? What are the words and adjectives that you think of when you view these spaces? So I used myself, for example, on my Facebook. I would see my images of recipes like foods, images of family pictures of me and other family members. I'll see advertisements for Amazon quite a bit because I think that relates to how I shop on Amazon. And then, political ads, things like that. What you're going to do is take time to make a list of not only the media that you interact with, but also within that media, what are the things that you're seeing? Down here provides you 5 steps on how to create what's going to ultimately a blog post. I'm not going to necessarily read these steps to you, but I will tell you that these steps are just one at a time can complete this activity. So completing the introduction activity, collecting these images, using the supplies in our classroom, using your collage to create a one-word adjective, okay? Posting that on your blog along with the reflection questions. If you can access this document, which is available on the website under Before We Start, you should be able to do one step at a time to complete these goals, okay? The last thing I want to do is I want to go back to the Before We Start section. So we talked about the first one. We clicked on the second one and talked that through. The third one I want to talk about is the text selections that we're going to make for next week. I highlighted here is as we explore each text provided, click on the links, descriptors, watch previews, things like that. You're going to use a post-it note provided to identify your top 3 choices for our upcoming unit. Okay, make sure to include your name, first and last, your 3 text choices, and your class hours. So that would be the both class hours that you have language arts. So if I click on this button down here, it's going to take me to a Google Doc that gives me a list of 8 texts that could potentially be selections for our unit. Most of these texts are not books. They're podcasts or they are documentaries. And while it might feel really good to just pick something maybe like a documentary, I would really take the time to examine what each of these have to talk about so that you feel comfortable in the topics and the ideas that these spaces are going to be talking about. So just because documentaries might be your first instinct, you might actually really like a podcast topic, or you might actually be really interested in the history that Stamped provides in a storytelling mode. Um, this is a really good time to, although you're just doing a work on a post-it note, like making your choices, this is something that you're going to have to dedicate the next 3 weeks to. So I want you to pick things that you know that you've made a good choice in providing, because you've gone to the website, you've listened to some things, you might have seen some samples. Okay, you've made a good logical decision because you've done this exploration. Okay, so I'm going to go back to the before we start and kind of scroll back up. Okay, again, 3 things to complete. Remember, we want to do this by Friday. Okay, number 1, watch the video and discuss with a peer. Number 2, complete the activity that looks at your own personal media. And number 3, go through and take a look at the text selections we have for this unit and make your top 3 selections. All right, that's all for now. Let me know if you have any questions.